Some of you may have figured this out, but one of my favorite things is to kind of talk about Social Security and taxes and sort of, when you run into significant issues here. I do see there's a typo here, but I'll try to kind of walk through this with you. So this is for Jane Doe. Husband died early on, but left her with a $500,000 401k. And I think in our last conversation, we talked about how that's going to grow because she did it when she was 50, and it's going to grow all the way up until she's 60, right? And so it's going to grow to about 1 million, and when she starts to think a little bit about what she's going to do with that, right? So a lot of people would say, and certainly the numbers for Social Security sort of support this. A lot of people would say jump on Social Security at 60 because I'm going to have the largest withdrawal over my lifetime. However, I do want to point out a couple things here. So if she should do that and go on at 60, she's going to end up with about $35,000 a year in Social Security payments, of which 85% of that's going to be taxable at 73, right? Because she's going to be required to start pulling money out of that 401k, and that 401k is loaded with about $1 million, right? So when you look at that, that means on the early end of her distribution, she's going to be pulling about 130k out a year, which is going to put her at a 24% tax bracket. And she's going to grow that all the way up to about 210,000, which is going to put her at the 32% tax bracket. She doesn't have that many years. I mean, anything over 182. So anytime she's taken out more than 150, so that's probably a little bit more than half of her distributions are going to be at that 32% tax bracket. So if we say, I don't know, 600,000 of that's going to be taken out, that means she's going to be giving back the government 180,000 of that money, right? And now that I'm looking at it, I think it's probably closer to 2/3, but so 2/3 of her distributions are going to go at 32%. So you're looking at a big chunk of money, right? As compared, if she was able to even that out across her 22% tax bracket or lower, you're looking at anywhere between a savings of $150,000 if she's able to sort of say, make some other decisions. So let's talk about what those other decisions can be. Okay. Those other decisions could be that she does not go on Social Security at 60 as she had planned, right? And she actually doesn't go into Social Security until she's 67 or even 70, right? Where she's going to get a little bit of a bump. But let's take a look at that. Let's say she goes on she doesn't go on at 60, and she starts taking out either $40,000 a year, which isn't going to give her a ton. It's going to get about 400 grand taken out of this fund or out of this, which is going to reduce her taxability. And then she's only required to take the other 600,000 out later. It's going to grow, so it's going to be a little bit more than that. Or she could go all the way up to 90,000 a year over that time period and pretty much exhaust that. And at $1 million, that's about 220,000 she's paying in taxes, as opposed to the other scenario, which I think would have been north of 300. I'm going to have to kind of sit down and do the math, but it could have been well over $300,000. So there's $100,000 in tax savings by not going on Social Security until she's 70, using some of that money now. Feeling very confident with her longevity, that would be a decision she could make. So that's a conversation I want to have. It says Lizzie here. Please disregard that. That's from a prior slide. I just didn't. It looks like I forgot to update it. But I did want to share that with you. I think it's a very interesting conversation to have with a tax advisor and with the Social Security analyst, because sometimes getting the money from Social Security. Now that leaves her less money. Obviously, she dies early. She doesn't have to take all this distribution at some point to leave on to her kids and to her grandkids. But she does have all this cash liquid. She doesn't have to spend it. So that's really just an idea as well. And so I would highly recommend thinking about your tax rate, thinking about your required minimum distribution, and thinking about how much Social Security is going to give you. We'll have a lot more on taxes. We have the next 4 or 5 videos are going to be on this topic. So please stay tuned. Thank you.